Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Overnight Action Report here at MarketStream.live. My name is Joseph Cusick with the Cusick Group, securities offered by MoneyBlock. Let's jump in. There's a lot of action going on overnight. Asia actually finished in the green. Japan's Nikkei finished up about 0.5%. All 7 sectors that I watch were up higher. Healthcare led the way again, up 2.1%. Utilities up 1.9%. And consumer staples were up 1.7%. And financials, they lagged a little bit, down about 0.2%, and materials also down about 0.1%. EWJ is the ETF that you can trade and monitor here for the Japanese stocks in the United States. Went out at 51.10. The monthly options that are expiring on January 20th of 2017, so basically over the next 39 days, are pricing in the potential for EWJ to move either up or down about $2. That's roughly right now around 3.9% in the Japanese ETF. There has been quite a bit of economic data that's been coming out that's relatively positive, and we're also seeing that potentially the Japanese government might be changing their tone as far as how they're going to be ratcheting rates. But there is expansion, and we're going to be watching that closely, and Japan was leading the way in the Asian markets. Now taking a look at the Hong Kong and the Hang Seng, added about 0.1%, lagged Japan, and that is in spite of the fact that most of the components in the Hang Seng overnight were in the red. Energy names, though, were showing quite a bit of strength. You had PetroChina, you had China Petrol and Chemical, all gaining between 0.9% and 5.3%. Very interesting action there. EWH right now trading right around 2074. We're going to watch this one very closely. I think with the moves in energy as well as what's going on in mainland, and taking a look at the Shanghai Index up about 0.1%. There have been some very promising economic reports. One most notable this overnight was the Chinese retail sales came out. It was up by about 10.8% year over year. Now that's against its previous October reading of 10%. So you're seeing that retail sales are really popping. There have been some interesting names onto the upside, ones that you probably have never heard of, but it's important to understand that you're having petro names as well as some enterprise names that are moving to the upside. Phoenix Enterprise, GeoJade Petroleum, all up between 8.4% and 9.8%. Some really big moves there and some notable names. Some large cap names are starting to move. FXI is the ETF that you're going to want to watch to trade China here in the U.S. It went out at 37.69. Right now, we're going to watch that very closely. There is some potential to add some exposure into China, especially now that we're starting to get a better handle on who President Trump is going to be announcing as a possible Secretary of State. So once we get a firmer handle on that, I think that you could see some things moving in China. Also taking a look at India, India up about 0.7%. There is some pressure in the financials, but the big large cap names like Tata Motors, Axis Bank, Reliance Industries, all up between 1.2% and 3.5%. That's in the midst of the currency crunch. As you remember, they did pull off some larger notes from circulation. That has put some pressure on some retail sales, but it's understood why. There are a lot of individuals that don't have access to electronic payment formats in India. So that has hurt retail sales a little bit, but some large cap names in India are on the move. Now taking a look at Germany and the DAX, it has climbed up about 0.6%. A lot of help with the financials, most notable Deutsche Bank. Stocks up about 2.8% this morning. You're also having other heavyweights like Merck, Volkswagen, Bayer, BMW, and SAP all showing gains right now in the German session early. Up about 0.7% to 1.8% respectively. Now utilities are lagging. We'll keep an eye on that. EWG is right now pricing in the potential for about a 2% move, so we'll keep an eye on that. Taking a look at the UK and the FTSE. up about 0.5% early in the session right now. Consumer names continue to contribute to the advance. Burberry, Paddy Power, just Unilever, some of the most notable names up between 1.4% and 3.6%. We're going to see if the driver continues to be that consumer spending component. Miners were the leaders for the past couple weeks. They're lagging. You're seeing BH Billiton and Anglo American all down between 1.2% and 2.8%. Watch EWU as the ETF that tracks FTSE stocks. Taking a look at France, the CAC is trading up right now 0.6%. Airbus is leading the way up 2.5%. Financials like Societe Generale and BNP Paribas, as well as Credit Agricole, are all up between 0.3% and 1.3%. Not a lot of weakness that's notable right now in the French session. We'll watch EWQ as the markets open here in the United States. It's an ETF that will track CAC stocks. Finally, Italy. A lot of positive notes coming out of the banking sector in Italy. Right now, the MIB is up about 1.7%, and Unicredit is up about 8.1% on an announcement of a restructuring plan. Basically, they're going to raise about 13 billion euros, eliminate 14,000 jobs over the next 2 years. The financials have now started to rise on this news. UBI Banca, BMPS, and are all up basically between 1.5% and 4.3%. Keep an eye on EWI as the ETF to track stocks in Italy. So as you start to see the headlines, this is where you could potentially deploy some strategic approaches into adding that into your portfolio. Pre-markets right now, we have most of the indices here in the United States in the green. You have the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, as well as the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000 all up. You also are seeing bonds firming up, actually in the green this morning, in front of the start of the two-day meeting with the Federal Reserve. There is a heightened anticipation that they're going to raise rates at least 1/4 point into this meeting, around a 97% probability. We'll keep an eye on that. Join us at 9:30 Eastern Time for the opening bell. We'll cover that topic and many more goings-ons here in the United States. So see you then.